Bam Morris was a talent on the football field, but his life was ruled by drugs and crime. Despite his skills, he kept getting arrested, always stuck in a cycle of trouble. Each time it seemed he might turn things around, he'd fall right back into bad choices. His story became one of wasted potential, a man once known for his strength, but lost to his own struggles. Morris's story is one that reads more like a crime novel than the career of a former NFL star. Known for his power as a running back, Morris could have made headlines as a football legend. Instead, his life took a dramatically different turn, becoming a story about squandered talent and repeated brushes with the law. By now, he's known more for his long string of off-field troubles than his skills. Let's rewind to the mid-1990s. Morris was in his prime, carving out a name for himself with the Pittsburgh Steelers, a team known for its rugged play and history of powerhouse running backs. But on June 27, 1996, everything began to unravel. Standing in a Rockwall County, Texas courtroom, Morris pleaded guilty to felony possession of marijuana. This wasn't just a minor slip-up. Police had pulled him over, and during the stop, they found 6 pounds of marijuana in his car. 6 pounds, that's not just a personal stash. This was a serious quantity, enough to turn heads and stir up a legal storm. In exchange for his guilty plea, Morris struck a deal. He would face a hefty $7,000 fine, be sentenced to 200 hours of community service, and be placed on 6 years of probation. But the damage was already done. The Steelers, who had seen great potential in him, decided they couldn't look past this. Shortly after the guilty plea, the team released him. And just like that, Morris's career with the Steelers was over. You have to imagine what he must have felt. One moment he's in the NFL spotlight, and the next he's cut loose. Yet even after this major setback, he wasn't done with the game. He was picked up as a free agent by the Baltimore Ravens, a team still trying to build its identity in those years. Baltimore gave him another shot despite his recent trouble with the law. But this wasn't a comeback story. During his 2 seasons with the Ravens, Morris struggled to stay clean and comply with the NFL's strict substance abuse policy. Suspensions followed, each one a fresh reminder of the career he was letting slip through his fingers. The Ravens eventually released him, disappointed that they couldn't count on him to avoid trouble. After the Ravens, Morris tried again, this time with the Chicago Bears. But his time in Chicago was brief. He played in only 2 regular season games before the team decided they'd had enough and cut him. By this point, Morris had gained a reputation as someone who couldn't stay out of trouble, and his opportunities in the NFL were dwindling. But he still found a final chance with the Kansas City Chiefs, a team willing to give him one last shot. What followed, though, wasn't redemption, but an even darker chapter in his life. By August 2001, Morris's legal troubles took a turn for the worst. He pleaded guilty to 2 counts of federal drug trafficking, an admission that went far beyond a simple possession charge. In his plea, Morris admitted he had been involved in distributing over 100 kilograms of marijuana in the Kansas City area between 1998 and 2000. This wasn't just about personal use or being in the wrong place at the wrong time. This was a full-blown drug operation. For someone who had once been admired on the football field, the fall was steep, and the public perception of Morris was forever changed. In exchange for his guilty plea, Morris received a 30-month prison sentence. That's over 2 years behind bars. But the legal system wasn't done with him yet. On September 10, 2001, Morris was also convicted of violating the probation he had been given in the original 1996 plea bargain. This led to a separate, harsher sentence, 10 years in a Texas prison. While Morris did ultimately get released early on February 29, 2004, the damage was done. By the time he left prison, his NFL career was long gone and he was left with a tarnished name. When you look back at his college days, it's clear that he had all the makings of a star, a player who could have made a lasting impact in the NFL. Let's take a step back to Morris's college days at Texas Tech University. In 1993, he was a force to be reckoned with. He won the prestigious Doak Walker Award given to the best running back in college football. It's no small feat to win that award, and it speaks volumes about his abilities on the field. In fact, in that same year, he was ranked second in the nation in rushing yards per game. His blend of speed, strength, and vision made him a nightmare for defenders, and scouts couldn't help but take notice. You get the feeling that at that point, Morris was poised to become one of the next great NFL running backs. He had the skill, the drive, and the college accolades to back it up. There was a buzz around his name, a sense of inevitability that his career would be one to follow for years to come. But as we now know, things didn't quite turn out that way. Morris's connection to football ran deep within his family. His older brother, Ron Morris, had also played football both at Southern Methodist University and later in the NFL with the Chicago Bears. Another older brother, J.C. Morris, played college football at Texas Christian University. It's clear that football was a family affair, and with that kind of pedigree, the expectations on Bam Morris were high. Family history and success in the game seemed to be pushing him toward greatness, and you can't help but think that maybe the pressure to live up to his brother's accomplishments played a role in his eventual downfall. In 1994, with that impressive college resume in tow, Morris entered the NFL draft. The Pittsburgh Steelers selected him with the 91st overall pick in the third round, a solid choice for a team that had a history of great running backs. His landing in Pittsburgh seemed like the perfect fit. The Steelers have always prided themselves on their tough physical style of play, and Morris seemed to fit that mold. The team was hopeful that he could become the next big thing in the backfield, someone to carry the ball with power and precision. At this point, Morris still had all the tools to be a success, and it looked like the Steelers were going to get a steal with that third-round pick. During his time with the Steelers, Morris had some standout moments. Over the course of 75 games in his NFL career, he rushed for a total of 3,809 yards on 974 attempts, scoring 35 touchdowns. He also caught 103 passes for 790 yards and added one touchdown through the air. His numbers were solid, but what really stood out was his physical running style. Morris was a battering ram capable of grinding through tough yards and taking on defenders head-on. He had a way of wearing down defenses, making defenders regret trying to tackle him. When Morris was at his best, he was an absolute beast on the field. But perhaps his most memorable moment in the NFL came during Super Bowl 30. The Steelers had made it to the big game, and Morris was their primary offensive weapon in the backfield. Despite the fact that Pittsburgh lost the game to the Dallas Cowboys, Morris put up a respectable performance. He rushed for 73 yards on 19 carries, scoring a touchdown in the process. He was the leading rusher for the Steelers in that Super Bowl, which is saying something given the magnitude of the game. But as we now know, his career and the Steelers' Super Bowl hopes were dashed that day. While it was an admirable performance, it's hard not to think about what could have been if Morris had kept his career on track. Could he have been the guy to lead the Steelers to another championship? It's a question that lingers in the air whenever you think about his career. But as we all know, Morris's time in the NFL didn't last as long as it should have. His off-field issues began to overshadow his on-field accomplishments. While he had the talent to be a top-tier running back, his struggles with drugs and legal troubles quickly derailed his career. The talent was there, but the discipline and focus to match it were missing, and that's ultimately what held him back from becoming the kind of player his early career hinted at. When you look back at Morris's story, it's easy to feel a sense of loss. Here was a guy who had all the tools to succeed, a player who could have dominated the NFL for years, but instead, he became another cautionary tale. It's a reminder that in sports and in life, talent alone isn't enough. You need the right mindset, discipline, and support to make it to the top and stay there. For Morris, the potential was always there, but the distractions, poor decisions, and off-field issues got in the way. And in the end, that's the legacy he left behind. What could have been rather than what actually was. That brings us to the end of the video. How about you subscribe if you haven't already?